Is this thing still on? What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to an album review. This time we tackle album number 6 by Daughtry, of course, the flagship eponymous project of former American Idol finalist Chris Daughtry. This one is entitled Dearly Beloved, the follow-up to 2018's Cage to Rattle. So, just to get this exposition out of the way, Daughtry is one of my favorite bands of all time. I adored them dating back to their formation in '06 with the release of their self-titled album and the approximately 12 trillion hit singles that came along with that. They, over the years, sort of devolved into, like, the mom stereotype, like soccer mom music, but, it was genuinely enjoyable stuff, and their first three albums I hold in fairly high regard, especially the first two. But from 2013's Baptized onward, you could definitely see a sort of stylistic senescence shifting away from whatever gritty and earnest rock tendencies they had, pretty much ditching all of those almost entirely for just standard run-of-the-mill pop top 40 stuff. And it's emblematic of the sort of genre and shtick they zeroed in on. When you think about all the bands who aggressively targeted like that adult contemporary shtick in the late 2000s, Daughtry, Maroon 5, The Fray, One Republic, most of those bands had a very, very short shelf life. Daughtry, one of the few that's still around and has even a modicum of cultural relevance at this point. But in spite of that, the music was still suffering, and while 2018's Cage to Rattle was a bit underrated, there are some good jams in there, like Gravity, Bad Habits. There's some good songs on there. You could definitely tell Chris Daughtry's voice was yearning to be set free, and he even attributed to it in an interview saying, we're trying to fulfill a contract and listen to record executives telling us, oh, this will be a hit on the radio and stuff like that, and kind of discouraging the band from making the music they wish to make. But now they're not on RCA anymore. This is their first album not on RCA. They're on Dogtree Records now. Dogtree Records. And my God. I mean, the three singles we got, World on Fire, which is 2020 summed up in a song, Heavy as the Crown, and Lioness. I mean, if the singles were any indication of where they were going, this album exceeds even the highest expectations. See, if there were no singles leading up to this, your expectations would probably be really low, given the output of their last two albums. But the three lead-up singles established a return to their rock sound, and therefore heightened expectations. This smashes even the most optimistic expectations I had. God damn, this album is a fucking ride. Y'all, I was dancing in my dining room over here. This album is a blast. And it's not just a return to the hard rock instrument, like live instrument based stuff that they used to do. It even plugs up the holes that their old sound had, because even at their best, old Daughtry had maybe two real gripes you could make. For one, you could see, even with their best stuff like Over You and Feels Like Tonight and some of the singles, you could tell the writing was on the wall, that there's like that gloss, that pop bent to it that is catering to the largest audience possible. Even with the use and implementation of live instrumentals, you could tell it's trying to be as pop and radio friendly as possible. So even with the live instrumentals, there's it feels like there's this like thing holding it back. That's not present here. It's got all the hallmarks of vintage Daughtry, but better. This is the performance of Chris Daughtry's career. He sings his ass off this entire album. And shout out to the rest of the band, because they don't take a song off either. Everyone just gives it 110%. And when you look at the lead-off singles, particularly World on Fire and Heavy as the Crown, it establishes that Chris Daughtry is slipping into the role of like a old sage, a sort of wise and fresh, just abound with knowledge and intellect. Not merely commentating or spectating on politics and the world and stuff like that, but also lending genuine advice to the listener. and speaking to the effect of, better days are ahead, keep your head up, stuff like that. Really cheesy lyrical content on the surface. And that's where we get into another huge dissemination between what Daughtry used to be and what they are now in this new form with Dearly Beloved. Because if you look, again, at the old music, when they tried to get even remotely deep or sentimental with the lyrical content, you could tell that it was very surface level. No disrespect, I'm not accusing Chris of not meaning it, but you could tell that it was very surface level and not, you know what I mean. That's not the case here. This is when it's backed by those godly live instrumentals, and when it's it's striking a more realistic and more mature tone, it makes the lyrical content much more accessible and much more it leaves the listener more susceptible to actually hearing what you have to say. So while Chris spends most of the album just kind of wrapping his arm around you in terms of the lyrical content, the songwriting, and just trying to tell you better days are coming, changes are coming, which is probably my favorite song of this album. God damn, that song is a ride. Songs like that, and the title track, Dearly Beloved, telling you to let people throw the stones because they're gonna throw the stones and stuff like that. But again, when it's done in such a mature way, and more realistic compared to their past work, it strikes a tone, and it hits in all the right places that their early content was lacking in. And, plugging up the holes that their early content was lacking in, and stuff like that. Then as we trek into the second half of the album, the band just kind of lets look at songs like The Victim and Evil. They're just having fun. I mean, even if you're not hanging on every word, I mean, the composition is such that you just kick back and have fun. And there's always the payoff. There's live instrumentals all throughout this album. Very few songs. I'd say Call You Mine is maybe one of only 2 songs tops in this album that harkens back to the Cage to Rattle sound, stylistically, and with the production value and stuff like that. But it has way more zest and zeal and personality to justify its existence. And again, with the live instrumentals there at all times, and Chris Daughtry singing his ass off, there's always that payoff that leaves you, that keeps you hanging on the edge of your seat, and it's just a blast, man. I'm so thrilled. This is gonna be a mainstay in my rotation. Do I have a favorite song? Pretty much all of them. Are there any songs I dislike? No. There's not a single song I can say I dislike. I mean, again, in speaking to the presentation, there's definitely that wish fulfillment radio single edge bent to it. Most of the stuff here, pretty much every song on here, it has the makings of a potential radio hit. Because that's the way they're presented, that's the way they're produced. If you're someone who likes mainstream rock and is a fan of old Daughtry and wants them to turn out that those radio friendly singles but have that spike, that spank and that grit and that bite to it, well then you're in luck, because again, every song is a wish fulfillment in that regard. But I mean, it's not surface level. There's layers to it, and songs like Lioness, where that bridge is just captivating Daughtry, Chris Daughtry, for as powerful as a voice as he has and the persona that his voice provides him. It's interesting to see him bend the knee to whoever the person, presumably his wife, is in the lyrical content, sort of bending the knee and standing in awe of not just their power, but the grace and the mercy they show to him. Some of the rhythm sections and some of the songwriting is not only passable, but it's captivating and interesting and creative. I mean, they fucking nailed it. This is the album of the year. 5 out of 5. 500 out of 5. Daughtry, Dearly Beloved. Unbelievable. This is awesome. This is just the album of the year. So thank y'all for watching. If you enjoyed, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell. But also, if you enjoyed the video, stop what you're doing and go jam that fucking album and dance around your dining room like I did. All right. See you soon.